Okay, over to you, Nicole.
Great. Hello, my name is Nicole Siggins. I'm the volunteer coordinator at Trufi Association. We are an NGO that is based in Germany, but we originally started in Bolivia, and we help map informal transportation to make journey planners for people all over the world. And our mission is basically to make public transportation transparent, accessible, and an attractive option to everybody. And I'm super excited that this webinar is happening and that Enock is here and is here to help show us how to begin with mapping public transportation into OpenStreetMap. Thank you.
Great, brilliant. Enock, do you want to share your screen? You're muted at the moment.
Okay, 1 second. We should be. Yeah, I want to be able to see. Okay, I keep my video off to save some bandwidth so that everybody can enjoy. But, where are the slides?
Brilliant, and welcome to the people that have just joined. If people want to introduce themselves in the chat, and also if you have questions going along, please also write them in the chat. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you everyone for joining today's session. It's not going to be a technical one, but yeah, it's all about introduction to mapping public transport in OpenStreetMap, and with focus on yeah, how to do it on the African continent, and some experiences from doing this in Accra. So yeah, my name is Enock. I was involved in mapping public transport in Accra in the summer 2017 for the Accra Mobile project. So we can dive in quickly. So maybe you already know about this, or you are new to it. Yeah, we might have a mix of participants here. So if I'm saying basic, very, very basic stuff, don't get too angry or super excited. But yeah, we are all learning and sharing. So if there is something that I say which is not as it be, please feel free to correct and drop things in the chat as well. So I will start from OpenStreetMap, which is the platform on which whatever we are trying to do is being stored. So if you are new to OpenStreetMap, first I will just use the opportunity to say what OpenStreetMap is, and then we'll dive into some basic information about OSM. So OSM is a global open collaborative spatial database. It's also a community, because in this, it's not only a database which is made by machines, but it's people who are making whatever information that exists in OpenStreetMap. So that is why it's not only a database, but a community as well. And this community is what keeps growing and keeps the data going as well. Started in 2004, yeah, by Steve Cole. So the approach or the goal of OpenStreetMap community and the OpenStreetMap project is to map the world from scratch without copying from anywhere, which makes OpenStreetMap data, which is available in Open Data Commons license and open data, meaning you can create, adapt, and share this without any issue, so far as you tell or you say that this is coming from OpenStreetMap and adhering to the license as it is. So in OpenStreetMap, we have elements. These elements are what I use to represent objects, or try to represent them as in how they look on the surface of the earth. So the basic one is nodes, and then there are ways. And the ways come in three basic forms. It could be a polyline, which start from somewhere and end somewhere, so two or more nodes. There we have a closed polyline, meaning it's starting from the same point and it's ending at the same point, but it's not filled, which is the yellow, the blue one, if you see on my screen here. And also there is a closed area. So this is an area used for building footprints or closed areas. Maybe you want to define land use, swimming pool, football field, and so many others. So this is one that we might have used very frequently as well. And then brings to the one which will be of much focus, or which is at the central point of mapping public transport in OpenStreetMap. Yeah, relations are the sweet spot of mapping public transport. You might have come across relations in our mapping. One type of relation is multi-polygons. When you map buildings with a hole in it, that is a basic one relation. But for public transport, it's also using relations, which we'll look at briefly. And in OpenStreetMap, there are tags. These tags are used to describe what these elements we add mean. So if you add a point in OpenStreetMap without basic physical tag, a basic physical tag in the sense that if I add a point and I just give it a name, residential house, without let's say a polygon with the name residential house, but without a primary physical tag that this is actually a house or a building as defined by the OSM tagging system, then it becomes a useless element, excuse me to say, in the database. Because if I need the buildings or houses in a certain area, and your polygon, that is your closed area, is in this area of interest, but without the tagging that is defining houses, then it is not selected, or it's not being able to extract it. We can't extract this in that regard. So if you are adding a point, or if you add a point, you need to first think about what does this look, or what is this on the surface of the earth. That is what I am referring to as the primary physical tag as well. So some tags describe them, so amenity, highway, and many others. Now, when we come to public transport in Africa, this photo from somewhere in Accra, this is typical, or maybe something we share in common across the continent. You see a setting of a public transport station or terminal with this kind of similarities across maybe West Africa, which is Ghana, or the entire Africa continent as well, if I'm not overgeneralizing. Now, because our system is kind of not timetable based, some of them might have some time of departure, timetable based in the sense that you just come to the roadside and then you know that you can get a minibus or public transport at this stop every 5 minutes, or the timetable says that after 20 minutes, the next bus to Dodoma is going to be, or the next bus to Accra is going to be here in the next 20 minutes. We don't have kind of a well-structured timetable system, so it makes our public transport system informal a bit. And then, or we call it paratransit, because sometimes they can decide to change their route depending on the situation of traffic conditions, or what is happening ahead of them. There are many other features or things that happen along the line that makes a change in route, or make it not a well-structured timetable-based system. So this picture here is one I took maybe sometime 2016. I was collecting some data about where these are long distance buses. You can see even heading to Lagos in Nigeria from STC, which is a public transport company in Ghana, but travels across the sub-region. So you can see that in the terminal, in the station, there is a board which has some information. Now, if you are preparing to map public transport, or go out, sit in a bus or a minibus and collect data, you need to start from somewhere, because the information you need to collect needs to also start from somewhere. You can just jump into a minibus and then say, okay, you are going to this destination, but you will need to plan and also structure what you want to do. So the first point will be a table of source, destination, maybe the fare. And this board here has a very vital 3 or 4 or 5 informations which are crucial to creating public transport relations in OSM. So this data will also be obtained from local government. If you're working with a partner, they might have already collected this spreadsheet, this data already, and then give it to you, which will be a starting point. Or sometimes because you already plow this route or you are using it frequently, you have a local knowledge, which is very paramount to OpenStreetMap, and then you can document this or put this together in a table format where you start the next steps. Now, after collecting this, maybe the starting point is that you have a local partner who has already presented with where the station, the start station is, the destination station is, and then the operator. Then you can now decide to put it together and then start the next steps, because this defines your project. If you're creating a relation, the relation will need to have information from this table as well. If you are creating the route, and all other stuff will be based on, that is why this defines your entire project for sending or going into a bus and moving around will be dependent on this, highly dependent on this table. Now, if you have organized this table, you have collected this, structured it, is in the tabular format. Now you want to go out and then collect some data, or you have idea already. You can sit beside your computer, put a satellite image behind in JOSM, and then start connecting the dots. But there is also another touch to it where you have to go out in the field. And then from experience in Accra, with Accra Mobility, we used this tiny but powerful tool called OSM Tracker, which some of you might have seen or used before. OSM Tracker was used to collect the GPS traces by riding in these trotros, these minibuses. So from start to a destination, from one point to another, and then from that point also back. So along the line, then you collect information about the various stops. It's not always that the minibus will stop at bus stops. So sometimes you could see that there are some discrepancies. Some stops are missed, but along the line, many routes will share this in common. So you could see that there is 2 or 3 data, or 2 or 3 stops coming from maybe 2 other public transport lines or other routes. So along, as time goes on, you'll see an aggregate of things that other routes share in common, and this is helpful for validation as well. And then OSM Tracker is highly customizable, because this entire layout is just a text file. If you understand the how-to of it, or you don't need to be an expert or a specialist in order to modify it, because there is already a sample which you can take and then just modify some things, and you have maybe 2 or 3 buttons, because, okay, this is too much for your data collection. So you want to define just 2 or 3 of them, which you can press easily, because in the bus, you don't have much time to waste. You want to be as fast as possible to collect some. Maybe you want to use voice, or you want to take a picture. OSM Tracker could help you do many of that. In the end, when you use OSM Tracker to write and collect data, then what happens? The result is a GPS trace. So dots connected, and then this has information, sometimes information on elevation, speed. And from this GPS trace, you could also calculate travel time. And in Accra Mobile, these GPS traces were all put on OpenStreetMap. So, you know, in OpenStreetMap, you can upload your GPS traces. And with these GPS traces, we use them in the case where satellite images could not tell us that there are roads here, or there were roads, but the satellite images were too old in order to understand that this is where this road is passing. So this is one reason why, you might know about the route, already have idea, but going to the field and also collecting GPS traces helps improve existing data and also contribute to the entire pool of improving OSM data. So if you collect GPS traces as part of your project, you can see here that this file name has 030A something and some date. So as a convention, you need to have a convention for your data collection that if you ride on route A, route 30, so from destination A to B, then you name it route 30, destination A. So it means going from as defined in a spreadsheet from, and then B will be from a return journey. So in that kind of fashion. So this is one thing you also need to take into account when you are modeling for field data collection. And also you make it identifiable so that it's visible. We can see the other points. If there are any private informations with this, I don't think it's a public transport, so there are no private information. If it's private, please don't put it in OSM, because OSM is not for private information. And also the tags, this GPS trace, as you can see, does have a tag, but instead of putting the AM3 in the tags, it was put in description. So if you have a tag for all your GPS traces, then it's easier to collect at a go, because when you go to the OSM and then you have a sub for the tag, so tags maybe /AM3, then you have all the GPS traces that have been uploaded. Sometimes why you use GPS traces to OSM is because, okay, your field data collectors are not in the same geographical area where you copy from their devices. So you use this, and then the tag helps you as the coordinator or the project manager to know where which stuff is located. Now, in order to put this into OSM, we need a bus stops, call them the platform. So the bus stops are paramount to creating a public transport route or relation. And here's some, this I culled from the Accra Mobile page. So you could see that there's a column for mandatory, there's key value mandatory and some comments. So you see we have the first 4, which are mandatory. Some bus stops might not have name. I've seen, maybe you are just passing there, you've seen that this is a bus stop, you don't know, you don't live there, you could map it, and then somebody will add the name. But if you're collecting data, you could also ask for the names. That is how come this is mandatory. So the first 3 ones are tags defined by the public transport version 2 schema. If you check the OSM wiki, there's more information, but the basis is that we need these 3 of them, because for bus, it's a bus stop, and it's a platform because this is where people can stand and wait and then get the next public transport, the bus or minibus and so on. And there is also a key official status, if this is official or unofficial. This is kind of, I don't know how to explain better, but sometimes you can see that these people just stop along the roadside, but as time goes on, then there becomes an official bus stop, because there is no designation, there is no bus stop sign that this is a bus stop, but they stop there, people pick from there, and also all those stuffs happen. There is shelter saying that there is a shelter here. You don't stand there without any shade, and or maybe there is a bench. I think the next one was supposed to be a bench where they can sit as well. So if it's attached, then all this information goes to the bus stop. This brings me now to the next one, which is the routes. The routes, that is the lines themselves. We know, yeah, the roads are already existing. Relations in OSM used to represent a whole lot of stuff, like even imaginary stuff that you don't see with your eyes, boundaries and so on. And public transport routes are one of them. So in order to map the public transport routes, we need 3 relations in total. We need 2 relations for start to end, that is source from, and then to, and then another one starting from the end to the beginning. So you can see A to B and B to A. And then we need another relation called the route master. This route master contains both relation A and the one for traveling and going and then coming back. So we have 2 elements. So the relation, the master route only contains 2 relations, which is the ones above the previous ones you have created. Those are the 2 elements that needs to be in this relation. No other thing goes into this relation. And then for the first 2 relations, what goes into them? We need all the bus stops in that sequential order from the first one to the last one, depending on the direction in which is traveling, and then we need all the road segments added to those relations as well. And then later, then we have a route master. Now, how does this route, these two child routes work? That is A and B, which goes into route master. They are both routes, so they all have both of them has a similarity. So you can see the type relation is a type. So mostly the type of relation that we are using is multi-polygon, which is for buildings, which you might not know that this is a relation because it has a name, multi-polygon. Yeah. And then this is a route, it's a bus route. And then we need a name. So the name is carrying from to. So this is from Chiado to 37 Lorry Park. And then the return one, which is B to A, will now have the name from 37 to, how do you call it, to Chiado. And then it's still having the same ID of 003. Bus I'm official, is yes. And then the operator, this operator is information coming from that spreadsheet. So you can see that the name is from that spreadsheet you have put together in the beginning. The operator from that spreadsheet you put together in the beginning. The reference also from that spreadsheet. So the reference, name, from, to are things you define from your spreadsheet, which is also defining your entire project. And then if this is a round trip, also, yeah, in the spreadsheet, you get to know that, okay, this trip is a round trip, which means that it doesn't stop. It just goes in a kind of a circular motion and then goes and comes and goes again. And then the travel time, this is computed. It's not necessary, or it's not, but it's computed from the GPS trace, or maybe the partner which is providing this has a travel time for this. If it's a scheduled system, you know that, yeah, every stop is 5 minutes, and if there are some 9 stops, maybe it's approximately 40 minutes to travel along this track. And then for the route master contains 2 child elements, which is a to and fro of source or start to destination, destination to start, and also basically also contains some information. And this information is one of them, of course, is going to come from your spreadsheet, which is the name, and also I think 2 of them, yeah, the reference. And then the frequency here was used to describe how many minutes or how long you wait in the station in order for this to be full or in order to move. It depends on each use case. And then the charge is the amount that is charged for this route. So you could see that, yeah, if you are traveling from A to B, and if you are traveling from B back to A, it's likely that the price, the charge is going to be the same. That is how come the charge is not on the children relations, but it's on the route master instead. Now, before I show any other stuff to make a lot of confusion, I will just jump to a conclusion, and then we can interact, have some questions, and then we see what next. OpenStreetMap is just one OpenStreetMap, and then if you want to map public transport in OpenStreetMap, this is not the first point of contact, but the first thing you should do if you are new, completely new to OpenStreetMap and want to contribute to OpenStreetMap, because this involves relations which sometimes some of us contributed to OpenStreetMap don't even care about or use in any of our works, but basic elements like points and ways. So if you want to do this, I recommend that, yeah, you start with OpenStreetMap, generally understand the concept, collect some observation data. If, yeah, collect some, try it offline, see if this is it. And then if you have decided, you have a team and you are ready to work on this, create a wiki page. And then documentation is key. Create an OSM wiki page, or not only for this project, but if you are doing a project where you have a lot of people, or some people, 5, 3, 2, 1, and needs to make a lot of changes to the OpenStreetMap data, because in public transport, you are going to change a lot of stuff, existing roads, existing relations. So just, yeah, also inform maybe your community, your country, or your region that, okay, you guys are planning a public transport mapping here, so that if somebody already has some data collected for maybe 1 month and is been trying to add it and pause that, oh, I continue maybe next week. If something changes, then every work he or she has done might be wasted. So you test, use there are test OpenStreetMap servers, which you can make changes to without damaging anything on osm.org. So yeah, you can try to map the route and then try to put it there, check to see if this is working as expected before now coming to do it on the real OSM, or do it offline, share with your team, see that, okay, is this what we need to do, that, and then review, validate, and maintain. Also, if you are saving your changes to OpenStreetMap now, so let's say you map a route A to B, don't just say Tanzania mapping public transport with a hashtag. It doesn't make sense at all, or it's not useful to other mappers. But when you say from Dodoma to, let's say, Morogoro Road, route A, or public transport route A, then your hashtag or whatever you want to add to it, this is useful. And then when I see it or somebody else sees it, can refer to it that, okay, this is for this route. And then also, let's try to reuse the data and then teach others, and then also learn from others as well. I would like to stop here for questions, and then we can do some demonstration. And yeah, thank you. Janet or Nicole, you can now take back the microphone, and then we continue.
Thanks, that was fantastic. Nicole, do you want to ask the questions?
Sure. Let me just find the first. Just scrolling up here in the chat. Okay, so I have one from Last Mufoya, and it is, when you define travel time, do we consider the time spent during traffic jams, or do we just assume the road traffic flow is free flowing?
So this travel time is computed from, in the case of Accra Mobiltra, it was computed from the GPS traces. So this is entire travel time considering traffic jam and all the stuff. So, but sometimes you could see that the data collectors forgot, or when you were tracking yourself, you forgot and you went home and before stopping the track. So when you calculate this from the track, the GPS trace, you see that it's maybe 5 hours, which is not realistic. So you maybe take an average of both travel to and fro, but also considering that, yeah, one will be better than the other, all right. So not just a general assumption, but we did this in the case of Accra from the GPS traces. But it could also be, if it's timetable based, then you know that, yeah, buses have a priority lane. In that case, the partners will know, or the transport authorities will know that it's 40 minutes to travel from here because buses have a priority lane. So it the case depends on where and what you are mapping and which city.
Thank you. I had something a little bit to add to that question. I think you may have already answered it a little bit, but so when you have the GPX track, do you also like mentally calculate the time spent at each stop to let people on and off? And if time,
no, because you can, if you really want to get this, you can get this, or you can analyze this from the GPS traces. We didn't do that, or that is not added in this OSM. Maybe that's an extended research, which is outside of the scope of public transport mapping in OpenStreetMap.
Okay, the next question says, looking at our recent times, user, Bolts, Yango, etc. are gaining dominance. What is the future of Trotro? Uber. Oh, Uber, sorry. Looking at our recent times, Uber, Bolts, Yango, etc. are gaining dominance. What is the future of Trotro?
Unfortunately, I don't know how to answer this question. Trotros are not regulated by OSM. The public transport in Accra DOT or government doesn't even regulate them in Ghana completely because they have what is called unions. The public transport system in Ghana is a bit fragmented, which I don't know how to describe it, but it depends on what you can afford and what works best for you, you know. So it depends generally, but I think TOTROS will still be there for some time until I don't know when, but both, and also, yeah, it depends on which class of person who wants what and what is in your pocket.
So that's the last question in the chat, but does anyone else have any further questions for Enock?
No further question, I think. Maybe I did a bad job, so that's why there are no questions. But the point is, if you want to map public transport, the first thing is to have this spreadsheet. There is more that I wouldn't want to confuse us with today, with maybe creating the relation, putting it in OSM and doing all the other stuff. But as soon as you get this table together, there is a transit mailing list also. You can ask for help. And the Accra Mobile page on OSM Wiki is a reusable one because the process and the spreadsheet we used has some functions that you can click, and then this easily creates the relation for you in OSM. But you need to understand or try it manually to see how it's tedious, and then use these functions to improve your workflow. You don't have to do all of them manually, but as soon as you have the spreadsheet, you can use a function to get all this. And if you can't do it yourself, always ask the mailing list, or yeah, somebody is ready to help anytime.
Enock, do you have the name of the mailing list?
There is a transit mailing list. I can put the link in the chat here. So you could, I just find that quickly, 1 second.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
Thanks, Enock. Also, there's a question about explaining the procedure to export OSM to GTFS.
Okay, so in order to export your data to GTFS, there is a tool called OSM to GTFS, which is free, libre, and open source software. You can find it on GitLab. Or there are other tools which I think I can't really tell which other ones exist, but the one I can say go to straight is OSM to GTFS, which is a Python script. I think you can just run it on the area you want, and it gives you a GTFS from OpenStreetMap based on if there are public transport routes existing.
Thank you. And if there's anyone here that's got any useful links, please do put them in the chat, and then I can send them to everybody afterwards.
Yeah, so this is the transit list.
Yeah, another question came in. Thanks, Janet, for taking over that when my dog had a meltdown. So Ted Johnson asks, are there some non-required values that are highly recommended?
Can you come again with a question, please?
So it says, are there some non-required values that are highly recommended? Ted, do you mean like OSM values or something else?
Maybe he's talking about the tags or something. Yeah. I can open the chat myself too. It says, can you share this? Yeah, this presentation is free, live. I will just drop a link here, which everybody can click, or yeah, the organizers will send a link to everybody with the file in both PDF and open document format for you to use. It says, okay, Agra, I'm not sure we can demonstrate now. Maybe we can do that another time, but not now. Geoffrey asks, what's the procedure to come? Yeah, the same. Let's see if I can. It's not always good to do live and unprepared stuff, but we can try if we still have some time. Yeah, I'll share the link to Digital Transport for Africa has a resource about converting GTFS because this project from Accra fell within the DT4A project, which was contributing to. About the key values that you need to add to or need to use. That's why I mentioned that you need some basic OSM concept or knowledge in order to do this. These tags, there are mandatory tags, which if you don't add to the route relations is highly invalid. That's why I mentioned you can mark a point in OSM, give it a name that someone's school, but if it doesn't have a primary physical tag that is defined in the OSM community for mapping schools, then excuse me to say is useless. Because if I search for schools in an area in Accra, this school, or if I try to extract schools, this school you have mapped with only name as something school will not be selected or will not be part of the schools. That is why some tags are very important, and each element needs a useful primary tag for it to be useful to humans as well, and even machines too as well. Maybe I can do a quick demonstration if that works. Let's see. So, okay, maybe I can just share my screen again. And then, so from, so I'm on the Accra mobile page here. If my screen is too small, please kindly alert me to. So I will just pick, yeah, maybe you also want to have a user account for the project, but I don't think then, yeah, this was almost 4 years ago. The project already had some OSM accounts, so I think that was where they were used, and the data collectors didn't have OSM accounts somehow. Some of them had, but the project wanted them to use these ones, which was already with the smartphones. So yeah, your data collectors can also use that. So you could see a couple of GPS traces here. I will just jump into one of them randomly. Let's see. So with this, I can download this, and then we open it in GeoSM and see how it looks. So yeah, one issue with OpenStreetMap, this might, if you are using OpenStreetMap to save the GPS traces and downloading them to reuse, one thing you will come across is that when you click the download here, I don't know, it uses the ID of the track instead of the name to save it. It's not a bug, but I think it's a consistent way of saving the tracks uniquely. So if you want, you can just copy this. There was a script from the project, it should be on the wiki page, that was used to download all tracks for the project, but with their names saved instead of ID. So when I go to my GeoSM, I can quickly open this trace and let's see how it looks. So is this big enough?
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay, so good. So when you look at this trace, you can see that it has some information. So these are just, we use two primary things of OSM Tracker have been used here, is to start a track, that is you are recording the track and the car is moving, of course. And then these are test information. So in order for whoever is going to make this data useful in OSM, the data collector or you yourself, you need to press, if you yourself are collecting it, is collecting it, you know that this is a bus stop. But in order to avoid any ambiguity, then you hit the bus stop button in OSM Tracker first if you are recording or you are collecting a bus stop. So you could see that anytime there is a bus stop, it means it's a bus stop. So it is a bus stop, and then this is the name here, a bus stop, the name there. I can put OSM in the background. The Zoom stuff is covering my GeoSM completely. How do I do away with it? Okay, I just put this one. So I put this one, we can see some information. It's a bus stop, and then the name of the bus stop. So first thing is the bus stop, and then the name of the bus stop. All depends on the convention or the model, how your project or how you want to collect the data, and then put it into OpenStreetMap. And then with this track, now I need data from OpenStreetMap in order to start doing something with this. So I will first just right click on the track. So it comes with the markers. I can turn them off here and turn it on. I bring it here so everybody can see clearly. So these layers, we have the markers and then the track itself. So I right click and then I download from OSM along this track. So it asks me to define a buffer, because if you want to download entire OSM data along this track, it's too big. It will tell you that it's too much. So I want to download all in along the tracks, and then I want download within 1 meter radius. Yeah, I think that is fine. Then I download as a new layer. It says the action required trade. I don't need any downloads. And you could see that along this track is downloading, but the request is 3 times. And there's a whole lot of amount of data already within this 1 meter buffer. So we can see where the track starts from. Maybe it's too tiny. So in your GeoSM, you want to also set that, okay, GPS traces should look big. You downloaded GPS traces from OSM, which I don't need. I only want mine. And then I can put it on top of everything so that it's much more easy. I can see the trajectory. So the next thing is there is a plugin for mapping public transport already, but in order to understand the model very well, the first one I will do is, okay, I want to create a relation. Then in this relation, then it has those basic tags that were supposed to be here. So we need the for each structural line, which is not the route master. This one, so we need a type, route, the route bus, and this name, something. You can see that it will become very tedious to type all this by hand or copy and paste, and there'll be a lot of mistakes. The reason why the spreadsheet is important, that at the click of next, let me see, that should be here. I think we have it on this page for everyone to reuse. Yeah, I think it's here. So, ta-da. We have this spreadsheet. I can zoom in a bit so we all see. So with this, at the click also, somebody is linking all the GPS traces here. So you know that for the GPS trace for this route direction A is here. When I click on it, I see it in OSM. That is on OSM, and is this one. And also when you need to create a relation, it picks the values from these cells here. So it's a GeoSM has the remote control stuff. So when you click this, it says, okay. And when I go to GeoSM now, and I look at the relations, the window is closed. My Zoom is, I just stop sharing screen for a second, and then I come back and show relations. Yeah, and then I can share the screen again. Good. So now in the relations, you see that there is a new, there should be a new route called with no elements. It should have 0 elements. When I move this away, there should be something with 0 elements. Yeah, this one here. So you can see this is Trotro 237 Lorry Park to Osu 37, and the members are 0. And if it's a new element in GeoSM, the ID doesn't exist. So you see a 0 ID. When I try to edit this, you see all I was talking about with, what do you call it? The bars, unofficial, all this other information gets picked automatically because, yeah, with a spreadsheet, you have functions to click and it creates the relation in GeoSM for me. And then I don't have to copy and paste. Now I can go ahead and add bar stops to this relation and then add the lines and then save. Then the next one I do for the second one, create from the spreadsheet, and then for the route master, the same thing. And in the end, you have a public transport route. We can take a quick look at this one and see what is in it. This is incomplete, so we don't see it. So I download all members, and then we can see clearly now. You see that on the top of this, we have all of the stops, which are platform. This is the first one, which normally should correspond to the from. And then the last one should also correspond to the to, and all stops along this line. And then next is you see all the road segments. And here is a tiny arrow showing that how they are connected. So if there is a gap in the relation, GeoSM has quality assurance staff to already complain that there is a route in this relation, and you fix this before you put it into OpenStreetMap. So basically, that's how the workflow works. And to not complicate things too much, I will stop here. And then if there are no further questions, I would say thank you for listening, and thank you for paying attention to. And I hope you learned something. Please, if you discover something, you share with us all, and share with me too as well, so I can also learn from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There's like a few more questions in the chat. So the first one is from Kennedy. Can this also work with trip recorder in OSM and app?
Yeah, it's just creating GPS traces. So any other application that you can use to collect GPS trace and annotate them, fine, you can do that. But the beauty and the interesting thing about OSM Tracker is that it's lightweight and has is highly customizable, as I mentioned. So you have a layout, you have buttons now that you don't even need to type bus stop anymore. Or maybe you just want to add some text, you can have a preset already that when you press this button, it adds this text to the GPS trace. Meanwhile, if you have other ones, I don't know how they work, but maybe you can do the same. If you can do the same, why not? But also you have considering battery life and a couple of stuff. So in our analysis here, OSM Tracker was the winner for us to go to, and then that's it. So maybe you find something which is much more lightweight and cool, useful. Why not? You can use it. There's another question.
Yeah, the next question is for me, actually. So
Yes,
when you
please.
had the spreadsheet on the screen, where did you get the data from? Did that come from the tracker, or did you create that spreadsheet yourself from scratch?
Yeah, so in the beginning, I mentioned that, let me see if my slide is here. When you go into the public transport stations, you mostly see some information about the route, where they are going, or something. But if you don't have this table, then the work becomes super difficult. So it could be collecting this from scratch completely, or you have a partner who has done an initial phase to have this spreadsheet available, or the operators or the transport unions or companies already have a table or something that they use as a schedule. Then you can deduce this data from it. Mostly what you are getting from them is the from, to, and I think the operator is one primary information that you highly, of course, will get from them. So this spreadsheet for us in the case of Accra was in Accra Mobile, that's why it's called Accra Mobile 3. In the first phase, there was no table completely. In the second one, yeah, I think this table was used to collect the data, but it was not in OpenStreetMap. But in the third phase, we already had this spreadsheet that made the work easier. Even though it made it easier, some of these locations, when you go there, there is nothing to see. So it helped a bit validate and improve the data that was in-house for the Department of Transport as well, because this was coming from the transport operators, which is the mouthpiece or the people who controls public transport in the trotros, among trotros in Ghana. So this was already available, but not with the click functions to create the relations and all other stuff. This is done by you as part of your project management and mapping. But what they give you is from, to, and maybe operator, or that's what you get from the station, and the charge you get as you board or people ride on the buses. Because sometimes they give it to you and it's not correlating with what you actually pay when you get on board. Talking with the setting of Accra and then probably West Africa ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got a couple of questions. So we in Tanzania are hoping to get started in Mugumu and potentially Mwanza. And I see that Jeffrey has got data for bus routes in Kampala. What is the best source of technical assistance for people that want who are new to this, do you think?
Thank you for the question. Technical assistance. seems to be a big and ambiguous question for me, but we have, I'm not sure on the trusted mailing list, the technical assistance, meaning that who to support and guide or what, maybe I don't get a question before I start answering.
Yes, that's what I meant.
Okay, as a volunteer OpenStreetMap contributor, and this is in Africa, I don't mind looking and also advising on whatever in my humble free time as well. So if any of you is doing something, please, you can hit me up and I can also take a look anytime. But I don't think there is a go-to institution. Also, Agrao is here from BT4A, which is offering some, I think, some support or some funds for public transport mapping. So maybe you can also look at this grant. They could also provide some technical support because this requires a lot of time and man hour as well. So we can find the best approach to this. Also, I don't mind sharing anytime. So please, I think we can find a better solution to it if you are doing it.
Thank you. And do you think it would be a good project for a youth mapper group?
Yeah, everybody, not only youth mappers groups, this is a good project and a good learning experience because the technical expertise or what you will learn from doing this is a lot. So which can be reapplied, reused in my case, which I'm concerned about, that after you learn the skills, you should reapply it outside the ecosystems of just your small community or your association, but also for independent, economic or financial and many other stuff. So for everybody, why not?
Thank you. And then did you also go on to develop an app?
I wouldn't say we didn't develop an app, but I know OpenStreetMap data can be reused already in apps such as OSM and Organic Maps, then Maps.me and many others. But in Accra, Trufi, that was the early days of Trufi. So Trufi volunteers were humble enough and willing, supportive, and released the Trufi core in the name Trotro, which is reusing data that is coming from OpenStreetMap in the app. So yeah, I wouldn't say we developed an app or an app was developed, but this is reusing that data or reusing the Trufi application, which is free and available for everyone to modify and reuse as well.
Thank you. Jeffrey, I don't know if you wanted to add anything. I've made you co-host. And if there's anybody else that wants to be able to unmute, please let me know.
Yeah, thank you, Janet. I think I'll just get in touch with
Jeffrey, you're really quiet.
Yeah, I was, let me check my mic here. I was just saying that, yeah, I'll just get directly in touch with Enock, yeah, and also check through the resources that Agro has shared on the chat. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, if there aren't any questions, I think we're up to time. I will share the recording with everybody that registered on Eventbrite. And Enock, if you can send me the presentation, I'll add that to the links that have also been shared.
Yeah, sure. You'll receive the presentation in a second.
Thank you. And thank you so much. This was such a clear presentation. Fantastic.
Okay, have a great weekend, everyone. And yeah.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Thank you.